From across the planet, Recycling Times keeps you in touch with the latest computer printing news.
Hello, I'm David Gibbons and here is the news. According to a leading attorney, many industry patents are not worth the paper they're written on. Ed O'Connor has won patent and intellectual property cases before the US Supreme Court and the International Trade Commission. He has told remanufacturers that anyone selling products into the US should get legal advice and check whether or not patents are worth challenging.
The Patent Office is just not equipped to consider all prior art worldwide, so instead they just look at a number of patents that are within their own files. And really the rest of those, the analysis would have to come after the patent is issued. If it gets to litigation, then a party challenging the patent can usually find a lot more information.
Just about every part of an empty toner cartridge can be reused or recycled, except the tiny electronic chip which the printer uses to communicate critical information to the cartridge and back again. Up until now, hundreds of millions of these small chips had to be discarded as electronic waste every year once a cartridge was empty. But now, one company has found a solution and says they can help remanufacturers to reset up to 95% of all printed cartridge chips.
What Apex's doing now is trying to reset the OEM chips and make them be used for the third time.
Apex can provide cartridge remanufacturers with equipment and training to reset chips themselves, or used chips can be sent to Apex for resetting. A new business has been opened allowing remanufacturers to have a one-stop shop for all their toner and parts. The difference with Top Imaging Company, which stands for toner, OPCs and parts, is that all the toner and cartridge parts are manufactured at the one factory. They are built to be compatible with each other. General Manager Rom Lee worked for Lexmark and Kodak in the United States for many years before coming to China. He says Top is the first and only supplier of toners and parts to be made in the one factory.
So we can provide the total solution for the customers. We can tweak the formulations if the compatibility is not perfect.
Good workers are always difficult to find, so this remanufacturer must be the best. Mr. Du fills 720 toner cartridges every hour, including cartridges for colour laser printers. But Du does get some help from a machine made by a company called Yida, who have been making toner refilling machines since 2005. The dual colour automatic filler has been used by both OEMs and remanufacturers in China and Japan for the last 2 years. The dust-free machine fills 2 different colours into 2 different cartridges at the same time. And Mr. Du and his filler finish the job by capping every cartridge. And I'll be back with more news in just 15 seconds. When you want to know what's going on, where do you go? When you want to do new business confidently, where do you go? You go to the #1 source of news and business. Welcome back, I'm David Gibbons, and in brief, by the end of 2011, Xerox printers will be no longer made in the United States. Instead, they'll be manufactured in India. Collins Ink and Kodak have agreed to a 1-week extension to a 10-year contract which fell apart last week. Collins said they plan to sell inks for Kodak's Versamark digital printers themselves instead of through Kodak. A survey by PC Advisor has found that 70% of its readers use wireless technology to connect to gadgets other than desktop PCs and laptops, with printers among favourite devices. And just 5 months after a tornado flattened the global distribution centre of the largest supplier of toners and cartridge components, Static Control has opened a 16,200 square metre structure on the same site. The new global distribution centre holds more than 17,000 different products. And now we go to Charles Brewer for a comment. Charlie, there have been many battles in the courtrooms between consumables companies. In just a minute, what's the latest between Epson and Nine Star in the US Federal Court?
David, there's been a lot of activity in the case over the last couple of months. In September and October, there were some hearings regarding some of the different technical things that are in the legal briefs. At this point, we're seeing it move towards trial. The trial dates have been set for March. I wouldn't be surprised to see it get pushed back a little bit further than that as the contestants jockey for position ahead of the trial. I think that at this point, it looks like Epson is prevailing in most of the matters that have been before the judge. That's not to say that Epson will ultimately prevail, but all of the indicators at this point are that Epson has a pretty strong case. Now, this doesn't include what's going on with the ITC appeal or with things that are happening in other courts, but this is in the federal case in the Portland Federal Court. Back to you, David.
Recycling Times Media brings you the news the way you want to receive it. Recycling Times Media brings you the #1 trade show in the world. Recycling Times, #1 for news and business. Well, that's the news for now, but for breaking news each day, go to www.recyclingtimes.tv, and you can follow us on Twitter and Facebook as well. Thanks for watching. See you again next week. I'm David Gibbons.